Welcome, everyone, once again to the Wormhole Manifest podcast. As everyone is gearing up for this holiday season during these tumultuous times, we're now 2 years since the discovery of this virus that's been taking the world by storm and causing many uproars in our society. It's been crazy, but here we are. Um, Regardless of all that stuff, I'm here trying to be more mindful and creative and taking care of the things that are important to me. Today, I'm excited to have on the show someone who's been an inspiration to me for quite some time and always a man of kindness and empathy. He's a veteran podcaster and a man about my own heart when it comes to 80s pop culture nostalgia. Uh, guess I should have asked this before. Do you go by T, Terrence, Tayrel, T?
To the internet, I am Tayrel713. To you, I am T, because that's what my friends call me.
T. Gotcha. Your name has been added to the manifest. And if you're ready, we have a long ways to go and not a lot of time to get there. So let's get this journey underway. Welcome to the show,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
How's things going in your world? How was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was very nice. I cooked everything. And if you guys follow me on social media, there's a picture of my Thanksgiving table, everything on the table, back and forth I made.
Wow.
So pretty good Thanksgiving, man.
So you're not only a veteran podcaster and media content creator, you're a master chef, and
I'm a mediocre home cook.
Man, yeah, you've been following mine too and commenting on some of the stuff. I've been getting back in the kitchen and out on the grill and stuff like that a lot more lately in the past year or two.
I love chatting up cookery because I like seeing what you do because you are a grill man. And I've never been very good at the grill. So it's kind of fun watching you get your grill skill up.
Yeah. I used to grill. I mean, I come from like a long line of like, you know, the St. Louis, like 4th of July grill, you know, outside party kind of people, you know, we're backyard grillers, you know, and my family's always done that. And I kind of grew up just eating the barbecue pork steaks on the grill and, you know, hamburgers, hot dogs, that basic stuff. But like, you know, 4 older brothers and mom and dad, and, you know, like we're just always outside grilling. So that's just kind of like what I leaned towards, you know, and kind of got those initial skills first. But I've been trying to, you know, do it up a lot better than that. Try to get it under control and get some really good recipes and use the grill for things that, you know, not just throwing on the, you know, not like when you go go camping or whatever and you throw the burgers and the hot dogs on the grill and stuff, you know, it's like everybody does that, you know, but I'm like trying to get in there and kind of make my own recipes and do all that. And it's been fun. Like, I mean, I'm trying to do I'm doing the regular stuff too, just doing the burgers and all that, but I've been like making my own burger patties and adding all kinds of different seasonings and stuff to the ground beef and sitting there and slapping them together, making those patties and making them nice and thick and juicy.
It's been a fun journey to watch, man.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. Like just coming out of like this, you know, and that's why I wanted to start this show, was to kind of document some of the things in my mental health journey of healing. And there's just so many. It's like when you wake up, I feel like I've been like a bear in a cave hibernating for, you know, a century. And I'm like, there's so much to do out here, you know, the world has so much to offer, you know, but of course it took like a pandemic and, you know, like in order to get me outside. And
the irony, like, when everybody says sit still, you're like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. So it's been cool. It's been interesting. And now doing this podcast, it's like, I'm like, wow, there's so many things I want to talk about, you know, like, especially having you on here, there's like so much stuff that like, you know, we've been friends for quite a while, like online, and, you know, I see the things that you're into, I see the things that you share, you know, listen to your podcast. And it's like, there's so much stuff that I want to talk to you about, but like, now that I'm able to speak, you know, now that I'm like waking up and I'm like able to, I'm relearning how to verbally communicate, you know, so that's why this podcast is practice. It's like a therapy for me, you know, to get to learn how to speak and how to communicate. And I'm like, man, there's so much stuff I want to talk to you about. There's, all the stuff that you're into, and that, I think we share a lot of common ground as far as like, you know, where we come from and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and the things we grew up with. So it's like that 80s nostalgia stuff has just been, that's what kind of formed me as a youngster. And, it's like stuck with me the whole time, and, you know, all that. But as far as like an interview style here, I mean, we can just make this a regular discussion, or we can go off topic. But I'm like, the main theme to the show that I've been doing is I guess lightly or loosely based on mental health, or revolving around that. And I like to get other people's perspectives or opinions on what mental health looks like to them. So like, with you being into podcasting and media creation and stuff like that, do you think that kind of stuff has like a, let's see, how do I say this, like a, does it help like with your mental health? Like, is there anything that you know I guess everybody uses like creativity as like a creative
Yeah.
outlet of sorts, so like, is that something that like you do, like, is that, or is it just something you're really into? Is there any kind of convergence there with
So
the
I'll cite you an example. Uh, Six, now going on 7 years ago, my ex-wife and mother of my children passed away suddenly and unexpectedly.
mm,
And let's say she passed away midweek is when I found out about it. But and at that time we recorded shows on Sunday. I still did a show that Sunday. And on that show that Sunday, I announced, saying, hey, the lady I've talked about on this show lots of times, mother of my children has passed on, and it sucks ass. But I gave a little send off to her, and I did a show because it keeps me a bit centered. You know what I'm saying? I have a regular time that I do this, and it's nearly always done at that time. I edit it throughout the following week, and never throughout. Usually, it's a day long thing. I'll give myself a day to do it because it's, and only because I'm working. If I were did I not have a standard job, my edits would take way less. But it gives me the ability to just kind of gives me a settling. You know what I'm saying? I this is what I do, and I do it regularly, and it kind of keeps me calm. So it is my creativity is kind of like how I try to keep my brain chill. But also sometimes I get a little too like into it. So I'm like, yo, I'm doing my show stuff. I got show stuff to do. I can't, and I need to not lean on it so much. There's still a house that I have to, help run, and a life I have to live. So oftentimes I have to be like, that show is I have to call it what it is, and that is indeed just a hobby. You know what I'm saying? It's no more than that. It's a hobby. It's a good time, and I do enjoy getting to speak with my friends of all the time. So forth and so on. But it's just a hobby, and we treat it accordingly. And so I have, like I said, it has been there for me during some, some strong, some bad times, and that's good that I had something like this to lean on. But also, it's really like I said, I try to treat it like it is, just simply a hobby. Now, oddly enough, interesting enough, we over this. I don't know if you guys watch the Great British Baking Show.
yeah, Rachel watches it
Yeah,
quite a bit, and I kind of, it's on, and I
yeah.
look at it sometimes when I'm looking up from my
Huge.
phone.
I'm
But
a huge
yeah.
fan of Bake Off, and this season of Bake Off, my co-host Anthony and I decided we were going to do a Bake Off recap show, and uh, we had such fun. Our buddy Nick Jew joined in with us. Was like, "Hey, I'll get in with that," and I'm like, "Sweet," because I love me some Nick Jew. So me, Nick Jew, and Anthony all did a Great British Baking Show recap show, and all that did was get my engine humming. I'm like, "Yo, we could be doing this show, we could be doing that, and so forth and so on." And so I have some ideas, hopefully going into 2022, that I can help push some more podcast type stuff and so forth and so on. But also we were talking about making a cookbook. It got
Oh
the
wow.
brain revving in a way that I'm like, yeah, that could be fun. So that is some that again, that is examples of where I feel like it keeps the mind charged. It keeps my brain kind of going. It's tough being indoors. You know what I'm saying? My partner suffers an immune is immunocompromised, meaning
Mm.
anything you think you've been challenged by in COVID has been that much more for this household because of that. You know what I'm saying? We have to be extra careful with them because they get sick. It's definitely going to be a problem, you know? And
Yeah,
so I forgot what I was about to take that to, but whatever. You know, it means being locked in the house this whole damn time, and even though I do get out from time to time, we do get out there. It has been a challenge in that I work from home now. They closed my office like
mm.
permanently. Not there's no
Oh
return
wow.
to office for me. They stopped paying rent at the office. They're like, we're gonna work from home, and that's just it right now. So it used to be a thing I did. I'd go to work every day and be in downtown Cleveland, beautiful downtown Cleveland, and hanging out is no longer a part of my day to day. So I'm kind of always at home. So when I get out of home, it's a big deal, you know? So like
Yeah.
me and my buddies, again, just went to Chicago this weekend to meet up with another buddy I know from the internet. You know what I'm saying? And my buddy Chalfie. And he was in Chicago for a comic convention. So I was like, that's pretty close to us. We should drive over there to go meet him.
Oh
You
wow.
called that. You made that happen. And so that was great. So it was me, me and my fellow podcast buddies. We drove to Chicago, had a great time. There you go.
Man, I haven't been to Chicago in forever.
I've been. I think that's the third time I've been. Delightful city. I don't know if it's like something I'm trying to regularly kick it in, but it's a fun time to go with your buddies. Tell you that.
Yeah, being from St. Louis, it's like, it's just a quick like 3 or 4 hour drive to get
Yeah.
up there, and I used to go once a year to go to the shit, now I can't remember what it was called, but it was like one of the big anime conventions that they had up
C2E2.
there. Huh?
C2E2.
Uh, this was back in like the 90s, so it might have been called
Yeah,
something
well,
different.
well
I
now
don't I don't
now they
recognize it.
call it C2E2, and that's exactly what my buddy was in town for. So that was
Oh wow.
how interesting.
And then there's like there was the Misawa Marketplace and stuff. There was like um it's like a mall, and but it's like it's a mall that's like inside a huge, like a giant Japanese grocery store.
Really? Oh man, I wish I
Yeah,
could have found
like,
out about that. I wonder if it's still the thing. Who knows? COVID has gotten rid of so many
yeah, I
things.
don't know. There was like, I mean, it's got like it's a grocery store, so it's like about the size of like a Walmart, but there's a huge like food court that you can go to with all these different types of like Japanese fast food restaurant, like, not really fast food, but I mean it is fast food, but it's like a food court, but they're all like actual Japanese restaurants in there. And then there's another section of it that's kind of like a mall that has like a big like Japanese bookstore. There was an anime store. There was a toy store, like all kinds of stuff, and it was really cool. Like me and my friends, I used to run an anime fan club a long time ago when I got out of the Marine Corps and moved back to St. Louis, and we used to like kind of caravan all up to to many of the different local Midwest anime conventions. Man, it seems like forever ago. It was like back before kids and stuff, but it was fun. Like to have like 2 or 3 cars, um, driving in a caravan heading to like Chicago to go to a convention for the weekend, and then we'd like get out of the convention and go to like Misawa Marketplace and things like that. And yeah, Chicago is really cool. There's like, I've been going there for years or I had been going there. I haven't been there probably in 15 years or so, but um, used to go at least like once a year since I was like probably like 17 or
Yeah.
18, something like that. Just like, I don't know. Used to be something that was kind of like a local thing to do, like, or, between me and my friends, we're like, hey, let's go on a road trip. We'd either go to Kansas City or Chicago because it was like the coolest places locally to
How
go.
funny. I
But,
so my mother lives in Kansas City, Kansas. So with enough
hmm,
regularity, I'm in the general Kansas City area. And man, am I not a huge fan of You know what? I don't like Kansas City, Kansas. Casey Mo is pretty fun. It's got a lot of stuff going on in it. Casey, Kansas is not so much.
yeah, there's definitely there's pros and cons to the area depending on where you're at and like what you are into and stuff like that. there's like a cool place. I think it's called West End or something like that, and that's where like people go to see like live music and all
Mm.
that. And I've been there a few times, and that was pretty cool. Went there with a friend of mine, but like then there's like the downtown stuff, the whole plaza and all that, and it's all connected with the Union Station, and they usually have like a bunch of exhibits and things like that. I think right now they got the Van Gogh thing, the Van Gogh
That's here
exhibit,
too.
where
What's
it's
up
all
with
like
that? How is that thing?
it's
How is it everywhere and nowhere at the same time?
right. I want to go, but like I just at the same time I'm like I don't want to go out and be in public. But man, so you're in
Yep.
Cleveland, right? I've been there a couple times. Not enough to. Um, there was a friend of mine that lived not too far from there. Wait a minute, did I go to a convention there? Somewhere in Ohio. Is Cleveland like right there? Is that like the Ohio River and
No,
all
that's
that?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Okay, that's where I went to a convention one time. That was pretty cool. I had like a little river walk type thing and plaza and all that down there. But let's see what did I do in Cleveland? I went to somewhere. I went to like a Union Station or something. That maybe I'm thinking of Cincinnati again. I don't know. But yeah, Midwest. But it's weird because another friend of mine had on the show a couple weeks ago. I think he's in another part of Ohio, and I thought it was weird that you guys are on East Coast
Yeah.
time because I was thinking it's still Midwest, and I
Oddly
was
enough,
like,
it's like the start of the Midwest. If
yeah,
you like, if you're take a look at a map, like, okay, this is where the Midwest begins here. Like, so I tell people like Pittsburgh is about 90 minutes away from here, maybe 2 hours. If you go to Pittsburgh, you know what I'm saying, which is a relatively close city, and walk around it, it's a very much a very East Coast city. Built like it has the very vibe of it, you know what I'm saying, all the downtown area and so forth. It's very much still an East Coast city, even though it's so very close to us. And so when you cross over to us, it's like we are the start of the Midwest, and that's kind of what it was. We used to be known as the
hmm,
Western Reserve because we were like part of the westernmost part of the United States, way back when. So we are where it begins, and then it got slides on over to probably, I guess, maybe what do you think, Colorado? You think we in? That's where we hit the mountains at?
yeah, I think so. Like right there on the you travel for like a day and a half across Kansas, because it's just like nothing but flat, like for as far as the eye can see. And then eventually you get to where you start to see mountains, and then Colorado starts. And I haven't actually been. I've been out west, but I haven't like driven through Kansas, and I'm like kind of scared. I'm like, I don't know, man. That's a long time to be sitting there, just driving on a straight road that just goes on forever and ever and
So
ever.
my
But
oldest child graduates high school next year here in 2022, and the plan is, as a bit of a family celebration, is to do a cross country road trip. So the hope is to drive from here out to Cali, of course, stop in the what's that point, 4 points, you know what I'm saying, where you can like go to 4 states at once. Yeah,
oh
and then of
yeah,
course got to go through the desert out in Vegas so they can see that, and end up in California, go see the coast. So if all that works out like it should, I might have to do some Kansas driving. Though I believe the way the map goes, I think it would probably
might go south
no. I'm going. It
or
goes
no?
the other way. I'm going up top so I can make it a point
Oh
to go to Colorado to see mountains. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll see how that ends up going.
That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
if it works out, I hope it does. I don't know right now, but that's the hope. So
My only driving experience is either from Midwest down south to
mm,
Texas, or Midwest all the way to the East Coast to
mm.
Maryland and like DC and all that. Like I've been to New York State, but I haven't been to New York City. But the furthest up there was like been to like Philly and all those places. But I've been to like the part of New York State where like the Finger Lakes are and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not quite, not as far north or east as New York City is, but I've been out there quite a bit, and then quite a bit south. And I've been to Florida and all that, driving from from Florida up to Maryland and all around there. And then, but I've never driven to California. I've flown out there and then driven around, but I haven't been to, I've been to like Vegas and all that. I've been to so many places, but there's not a lot of driving to them,
So we flew to Vegas on my 40th birthday. And then while we were there, we rented a car and drove to California because it's like 3-4 hours. It's real close. You get to LA like way fast. So we drove out there, hung out in Long Beach with a friend of ours. A lovely time. Plus, of course, you get to see all the desert and all of California as you cross it toward the ocean. Plus, I got to see the Pacific Ocean, which is pretty dope. So that's a good time. I'm a driving man. I love driving. That's kind of what the deal is. I just really haven't. I enjoy getting in the car and going on the road trip. It's my jam. And I hate this pandemic has been preventing me from being able to do it as much as I want to. But time to time we get on the road and head on out.
So you just went to Chicago, right? This past weekend? That's cool. I need to, like, I used to be into like doing road trips, like I said, with doing the conventions and all that. And then plus being military, I traveled around a lot and, but I used to, all my free time was spent usually driving places and going on little road trips and things like that. But for the past, probably since probably a little bit after my second or third kid was born, then it just kind of like stopped, like didn't do the road trips as much and all that. But man, traveling with kids is tough, especially when they're little.
Yeah. That was the challenge. Now, so my kids are both teenagers now. My son just turned 18 last week, and so he's a legal adult, but not really. And so they're it's easier when they can all speak for themselves and be like, "Hey, man, I need to pee, so can we just go pull over here and go do something?" Plus, my kid drives. You know what I'm saying? He's a hell of a driver, so I can just be like, "You take the wheel for a little bit. Your dad's about to lay his head down." So, like shortly after he got his license, we drove down to we drove up to Toronto, Canada, and I let him handle most of the ways there, and because of course I didn't want him having to cross the border himself. You know what I'm saying? But still, I was like, he got us pretty much from Ohio to Buffalo, New York, which is just across the border, and then we swapped over, and then I drove the rest of the way. So it's like he's been a little road trip guy himself since pretty much he got the license. So I dig it.
Wow, man, that's crazy. Like my oldest is 15. He's going to be 16 in February coming up, and he started talking a couple months ago about driving and getting a license and stuff. And I'm just so like kind of hesitant. I'm kind of like, I'm not scared, but like, I'm just
No. It's
I don't know. Like, it's just, he has a very difficult time. Like, I mean, he has autism and he's, I don't know, like he just has a hard time paying attention to things. And that's what kind of makes me nervous because I want more than anything to get out and show him how to drive, because I kind of pride myself on being a really good driver. Like I always have, I've always been able to drive, like even in the military, I drove all kinds of different vehicles and stuff like that. And I loved it. I like being behind the wheel and taking control of a vehicle and getting from point A to point B the safest way possible, and all that. But like, how do I don't know. I guess I'm just nervous about getting behind the wheel with him and being able to show him like the right way, like, I don't know.
So my kid tells the story of how when he got his learner's permit, I literally was like, "Okay, here you go," and I gave him the seat, and he was like, I didn't realize it, but I guess I should have realized. He was like, I didn't know how to do anything. That was scary as all get out. Now, mind you, it was probably a 10-minute drive from the license bureau to home, but he was totally scared of it. And I was like, oh, that stinks that I made your first experience so scary, but also you're very good at driving. Now, my son has also he has managed to crash my car before. It was a rainy night and he caught a bad curb. And as I went there to go rescue him in my car, other cars were coming down that same stretch. And I watched them all do the same thing. Only they managed to turn out of it and he did not because he didn't have the experience he needed yet to know how to do that. So I was like, look,
Yeah.
man, you see everybody who's coming down this road, they're all about to spin out too. It's like you just, you caught a bad one, it's okay. Insurance is there
Yeah.
for a reason, so it's okay. So that's a lesson I guess I can share with you when you teach a kid to drive. Make sure they're very ready to do it, as opposed to just putting them on the road saying "let's go." I
Yeah.
should have probably put them in a parking lot
No.
and let them, get some experience that way first. Just didn't even consider it. I was like, "Let's go." I was so proud that he passed. I was so excited that he passed the dang learner's exam. I was like, "Let's go, baby, come on!" And yeah, probably shouldn't have done that to the kid.
And meanwhile, his like only experience is like Mario Kart or something.
Hey,
So
that's the thing.
what?
He's driven a ton of simulators. He's very good at them.
Yeah.
You just gotta feel the weight of the car. You'll be all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I kind of wish I had like a go-kart or something.
Yeah,
Like I want
yeah,
to like get out there with some go-karts and say this is the basics. We're in a thing that you can make go that is not walking or riding a bike
yeah,
or
yeah.
like there's a motor. But like at the same time, I don't have a decent vehicle to teach him in either because most of like I have a truck that's a stick shift, an F-150, and that's a pickup. But like my other vehicle that I got just a couple of years ago is an older Suburban, so it's a
Big old
big
truck.
ass.
Wowzers.
Yeah, so like learning. I mean, I'm sure if he learned how to drive in something like that, he should be able to drive just
Oh, for
about
sure.
anything. You would think. It's kind of like if you like learned how to drive a semi before anything else, like getting into like anything else, like like a Mini or one of those Fiats or
Yeah.
something, you'd be like, this is like a go kart compared. But it's crazy. I don't know. I guess I'll take it as it comes. Like when he shows more interest, then I'll start to ping him on responsible driving and things
And if
like
they got
that.
it, you know what I'm saying? So in the great state of Ohio, they require your kids to take driver's ed. And so, I had to pay for a driving class for them. And that was real good because that way it wasn't me teaching him all the rules of the road and him being nervous that, oh, my dad's here, so forth and so on. It was another guy who taught him, and I think he did a fine job. So, yeah.
That's cool. I'll have to check with the schools and see if they do something like that
Yeah.
around here. We live in the middle of nowhere, so it's kind of like you never know what they. But the schools are supposedly really good, so the kids actually like their schools and everything. So that's good. Like that's way different than what I grew up. Like I hated school when I was a kid. Like I didn't want to be there. It was very stressful and like and just crazy. But um, well, getting back to like I think when we left off of the talking about your podcasting and stuff and like the mental health thing, like I think what you were trying to say is that it's good to have kind of like a
Yeah,
routine
for sure.
thing. Like you have that routine and it's there for you and you know that you're going to do it and like gives you that kind of that time to does it what I'm noticing with me doing this is it kind of gives me this time. It's not like a decompression thing, but like it's like it's a brief period for me to like verbally express things, like which I don't normally do because I mean me and the wife talk, or me and the kids talk, but like I don't get a chance to other than sending out a random tweet about what I'm
Yeah.
thinking, like online. There's no real verbal expression of how I'm feeling,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So
So
that I think
I
is something I've noticed about, again, being in the house during pandemic. We don't have an opportunity to speak to people or, one another as much as we used to. That's the thing I miss from out the office, just sitting there talking to coworkers and so forth and so on. And so a podcast, like you said, oftentimes if you got a guest or no guest, but they're saying in my case, my buddies, that's when we get to talk about the news of the week, what's going on
yeah.
in their lives, how's everything going. My buddy is on the road now, what I'm saying? My buddy Gabe is driving around the country in an RV. So I get to hear about his experiences and how's it going, with a wife, 4 kids, and several pets, all in an
Wow.
RV. And so it's good. It's nice to be able to have that bit of expression. I think we have all gotten so very used to communicating online, probably since, AOL days, for some people Usenet days, uh, that
Yeah.
I think we forget that we can have a one-on-one bit of conversation, what I'm saying? It's actually something that used to occur always. It's also probably why we're kind of
Right.
like why we've gotten a bit shitty as a nation. We forget what it is to have to talk to our neighbors and our and people and get to know them and so forth. And I think I like that podcasting or Zoom calls and the like can kind of reach a hand across. Saying people can kind of sort of talk and so forth. And I dig that that's a thing that exists. So for you, it get you out, it get you talking. That's dope, man. I like that I like that we can have this. Yeah, I know Matt now for years, but all Matt and I do is type to one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's nice to actually see your face and
yeah.
communicate, and and catch up. Like it's just something that, like you said, I mean, back in the day, that's all we did. Like people, we talked to each other. Like that's how we found things out. That's how we stayed current in the community and in the world. Like figured out what's going on. Yeah, we might watch the news or something in the evenings, like my parents did, but like that's to find out what's going on in the next city over or in the nation. But like if you want to find out what's going on in the community, like talk to your neighbors or you talk to people at your school or people at work, and everybody. And I kind of missed that since I like retired from the military, and I had that, you get to work and you spend the first like 20, 30 minutes like catching up with your buddies, like figuring out what's going on, especially after a weekend or something. You're like, oh, what'd you do? And it's like, I did this and this and this. I watched this movie. And, that's kind of like a podcast in
Mhm.
itself, like that morning catch up, that morning meeting is like a podcast of catching up with your friends from the
it's
weekend
it's
on a
it's how
Monday.
our podcast was made. We hung out at lunch every day. That was the time we got away, and we said we should be recording this. These are good conversations. They're fun. They seem to have a vibe to them. We should be recording them. And it used to be the show was just that. We took a recorder with us to lunch and recorded our lunch as we sat and ate and hung out. And so that was the basis of the show we do now. It's like so, like I said, it's nice that it is carried forth even as we no longer get to do lunch together.
Yeah. I know. It's like, it's so weird that like we've gone to this realm of everything is online. Like dealing with my mental health struggles, like for a while there, like even the sound of a phone ringing would like set my anxiety off. Like it would just put me into panic mode, but like when I grew up as a kid, I couldn't wait to like get home from school and like call my
Mm.
friends or and as I got older I wanted to call my girlfriend and talk to her on the phone, and we talk all night long,
Yeah.
like fall asleep on the phone and stuff. And it's just like, does that even happen anymore this day? Like, do these young guys or young couples, like do they sit there and fall asleep on the phone talking to somebody, or do they just sit there and text and
Huh. You know what? I wonder if that's the case. That's actually something I've been working on this year. That's been something I've been looking at myself. First, like you said, for some reason we all got very scared of answering the phone, and so
yeah,
a lot of times it's because I'm saying I was ducking and dodging bill collectors or the like. You know what I'm saying? But I finally
right,
came to terms with that. Look, one, if I don't got it, I can't pay it, so that's just what it is. But two, who knows who's calling me? You know what I'm saying? It could be any number of important things. Plus, I got kids, you know what I'm saying, and so forth. So I have to, just suck it up and be good. And so all through 2021, I've been like, even the most random of phone calls, I'm like, let's answer it and see what it is. Now, several times it has been somebody speaking Chinese, and I have no idea what's going on with that. But, sometimes it's cool stuff. Sometimes it's people trying to hustle me. Hey, don't you want DirecTV? And I'm like, don't ever call me again, and I'm going to block your number. But it's given me a bit of a comfort, if you will. You know what I'm saying? I've gotten kind of used to being able to speak on the phone again, which is a tool we
yeah.
kind of need.
Well, yeah, yeah. And like with me and running a business, like for the longest time, when I was like in this crazy mindset, Rachel, when she was working nights, she would work with me during the
Mm.
day, and she basically ran my business for me. She was like answering the phones, setting up appointments, like there was the occasional time where she couldn't answer the customer's question on the phone, so she had to give the phone to me, and like that was like caused like a big incident because I end up like freaking out and like not being able to talk to the customer because I don't know what they're asking me or whatever it is. And you know, I'm just all this frustration, but like, I'm so glad that that's kind of all gone now. And now with Rachel working a new job where she works, like, you know, 8 to 5 every day, like I'm kind of forced into taking care of my shit,
Yeah.
you know, like I have to answer the phone or I don't get business, you know, and like when I, you know, it's a good thing I've got that like little, what is it, the screen call
Oh
screening
yeah,
or
caller
whatever it is,
ID.
like caller ID. Yeah. So I can see if it's not something I want to answer, but if it's a local number with a regular person's name, I'm like, oh, this might be a customer. So I answer and I put on my, my business voice and I go into it and I'm like, wow, it's gotten way easier. You know, for a while there, a couple years ago, I wasn't able to do that. So like now I'm like, you know, this isn't so bad. I'm getting back out there. I can actually take care of some stuff and do some things and make some business for myself. So
So
it's
has it been just like what, I guess, what has gotten you over the over the hump? You know, like has it been a combination of
it
therapies and meds or so forth and so on, getting stuff just dialed in?
well, the meds thing I think was part of the issue. Like I was in therapy. We're going back just before 2 years ago, before the pandemic. I was getting close to having like another breakdown kind of thing, and I was like, I need to fix this. I need to get to the root of the issue. And I realized that the meds weren't working. So I went to a new doctor. I started going to the VA since I'm a veteran. I can get seen by the VA, and the ones I was using before that I was paying for, using my insurance, seemed to just be so random. Like I wasn't getting the help I
Mhm.
needed. So as soon as I went to the VA, the first thing I told them was like, I want to get off all these medications, because I didn't need the medications when I went through like Marine Corps boot camp, you know, and I did all these things I struggled with as a young guy. I didn't. I was depressed back then, but I wasn't like didn't have all the issues that I had, and I wasn't on any medications, but I was able to deal with things. It it's like a really long story, but basically what got me through it was I started realizing I need to get off of the medications and I need to figure out what the real issue is. And the issue is that I have a lot of
Mhm.
trauma that's built up, and I need uh, to tackle those things that have caused, or well, yeah, like whatever the root of my mental illness is, I need to handle that and not just treat the
Okay.
symptoms. I realized that what I was doing with all the medications, even some of the therapy, even before medications, when I used to drink all the time, drinking was a crutch. It was a mask that I put on to cover who I really was, and it was to cover my issues so that I could, you know, smile and get through the day. So like what I realized was I need to face my fears. I need to face what that trauma is inside of me that has been causing the, the backlash of mental illness
Mhm.
symptoms. So in order to do that, I had to first start getting off of the medications, um, safely, which is why you don't want to just drop a medication. So you have to like go through a process of tapering off them very slowly over the course of time with the assistance of a doctor or, you know, trained professional. And once I started getting off some of the medications, I noticed things were changing. And then I started to look into another form of treatment is the psychedelic therapy or the psychedelics. I've been doing a lot of research into microdosing psychedelics to repair the parts of your brain that is damaged from things like trauma and from depression and things like that. So I started looking into that a lot more, read a couple books, and the more I looked into it, and then once I finally started to dabble into that realm, um, lots of things started changing. Like the facing the issues at hand. I was suffering a lot of grief from, and I know you know you lost a loved one, and it's like I've lost 3 brothers, mom and dad, countless friends, and I never faced what that was doing to me
Yeah.
internally. Like I was holding it all in for many years, and so eventually it got to a point after I lost my brother that I just kind of cracked. I snapped under the pressure, and it changed everything. And then it made me realize that I hadn't been dealing with my feelings and my emotions and stuff that in a very constructive way. So the thing that changed it mostly was when I realized it was 1 year ago. Well, this past November, I decided to do a macro dose of psilocybin mushrooms, and during that trip, a lot of things got revealed to me, and a lot of the things I just talked about was like not facing the grief, not facing who I really was, using things as a crutch, using things to not show who I really am. And I wasn't dealing with the true issues. I was only covering them up. I was only using the medications and alcohol and things like that um, to hide those feelings and things. And it wasn't dealing with it. It was just making the symptoms a lot worse. I mean, obviously, I have been diagnosed with like bipolar and ADHD and obsessive compulsive personality disorder and all these other things, but it always makes me wonder how much of those diagnoses or how much of those mental illness things are true, or what they were, if they were based on how I was feeling on different medications and things. It's a very convoluted kind of thing. Like the whole process was, obviously I was like dealing with a lot of stuff at one time, and it's just been kind of like the past, as soon as I started getting off the medications and then started to be more mindful, I started getting into meditation and things like this. And I started doing more research into the path, the effects that psychedelics have on you, the human mind and things. And it's opened a lot of doors for me as to like what I can do to heal, what I can do to be in a better mental state than what I was previously, and it's an ongoing journey. I'm only like maybe halfway there, but I'm definitely getting there, and I've come a lot farther. When I look back where I was 2 years ago, I've come such a long way, and it's amazing, and that's why I'm like, I want to like post things online and on in this podcast, like things that I've done that has helped, so that if I can help someone else, then that's something I want to do. I definitely want to be, I feel for anyone who's been where I've been, like I don't want that or wish that on anybody, so it's not a good place where I was, and nobody should have to go through that.
Okay.
So it's crazy. We should take a break real quick, and then we'll be right back with you folks. Thanks for hanging in there. Hey everybody, we are back, and I am here with T, and we were just talking about all kinds of stuff, traveling around, mental health stuff, podcasting. One of the things I wanted to ask you, and you'd been you may have answered it already, is like with telling us how you started the podcast with just talking to your friends at the lunch table, like, and then having those meaningful discussions and just kind of having fun and starting a podcast. But like, what would your advice be for someone who wants to really get serious about doing a podcast or something like that? Like, just keep it a hobby, or
So look, if I ever dumb luck and can start making money off of this, great. I have a Patreon. I have a few patrons. They help cover some stuff. We have merch available on TeePublic, and every now and again somebody will buy a shirt. That's fun when you get the little $2 pop up from TeePublic said you made $2. Like, thanks TeePublic. But being serious about it and doing it right, probably two different things. The main advice I give people is the same advice I heard years ago from a guy, Jeff Gershman, who is the editor-in-chief over at giantbomb.com. And he said, be consistent. He said, if you tell people your show is going to be out on this day, then make sure it's out on that day, and it's out on that day every time, because that way they have a place to show up to be with you every time. My show comes out Thursday,
Mm.
every Thursday. I'm relatively good about that. And for a minute there, we went years without missing a Thursday. Now I've gotten a little during the pandemic. I've gotten a little looser with myself. I've allowed myself some times to be like, hey, we're going to take a couple weeks. We're not going to put anything out, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because again, this is supposed to be a hobby. It's not a job. I'm not being well paid for this. I don't owe anybody anything. But I do want to give the people who
Right.
enjoy the program the ability to be like, every Thursday, T and the guys are up there talking smack, and that is it. So I'm always going to tell you, if you're going to do it. Don't half-ass it. Don't don't mess around and then be like, well, there you go. I did. And also, don't buy a bunch of high end equipment at the start.
Yeah.
If you got a halfway decent mic, and you know what I'm saying, at this point everything has gotten so much easier to do. Like I said, some people will use mix boards because they want to bring some other, they want to bring some different audio in and so forth and so on. Sure thing, if that's your style. But I'm saying right at the beginning, just make sure you have a good mic. I guess, in this day and age, we probably need a decent camera. We probably, at this point, probably during the pandemic, we're probably all set up to do more podcasts than ever before. We all have decent microphones.
Yeah.
We all have pretty good cameras because we just needed to just for day to day functioning. You know, and
Yep.
so you're probably already set up to do this. All you need to figure out is who's going to host the show. Lots of places are host shows for free now, so that's dope. And
Listen to my sponsored ad.
see, there you go. And you get yourself out there, and you get your product moving. Uh, just have a good time at first. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of nice to
Yeah.
be able to say, "Hey, I made a podcast." Everybody, people are gonna be like, "Everybody has a podcast." Great. Well, now I'm part of everybody. I guess a little bit more. And that's fun, and that's okay to do. But yeah, being there, being at it, getting your show up on whatever schedule you've presented for yourself. Some people are like, all right, I do a show once a month. My buddy, I'm on another show. My buddy Chalfie, Cadillac on Mars. That show comes out once a month, the first of the month, every month, and he's been doing it now for a year,
Mm.
and he's managed to do that. That has become a healthy way for him to do that particular production. And I've only been a part of the show for like the last, I think, 3 months. But that to him is a healthy amount of work to do. You know what I'm saying? In addition, being a family guy and an educator and so forth. So that works for him. If that's what you want to do, cool. Go with that. Go with a month. Don't use your favorite podcast as your example of, well, if they do it every week, I must be able to do it every week. Nah. Some of those people, that's their job. Podcasting is their gig. For most of us,
Yeah.
podcasting is our hobby. It's an outlet of creativity. It's a good time. And unless you're getting paid for it, don't worry about it.
Right. No, that's good, man. I think I'm kind of like sticking like, and you've kind of answered that before for me in messages and stuff, like as far as like what kind of schedule and things like that when I was first starting this out. And so far it's been working pretty well because I record typically, like today's different, but like during the regular months, not around the holidays, but like I'll record on a Thursday night at a set time, and then I won't release that episode until the following
Okay.
Friday because I'll have recorded Thursday night, and then the next day I release the previous week's
Yeah.
episode on Friday, and then it's just like a constant rotation, and it works well because of, like you said, with like family and other stuff going on. Like I may have computers in the shop I need to
Yeah.
work on. Like I got to balance it all out, and it's nice to be able to like be working on a customer project. And, I work from home too, but like I'll have my garage converted into a computer repair shop and workbenches and all that stuff and test equipment. But like, it's nice to be able to be out there for a while and like, repairing something or figuring something out. And then I'm like, okay, I need to take a break. And so I come back in and then I'm like, what can I do? Like I'll sit down and I'll work on editing the previous week's recording, and I'm like, it's good to have that balance of, especially for me and being like ADD, like it's very easy for me to over fixate or over focus, hyper focus on
Mhm.
something and try to get it done, and then I end up burning myself out because I'm like, if I start hitting snags or bumps in the road, I'm like, why isn't this working? And then I get frustrated. So it's like, you got to step back, before you get to that point, because once you get to that point, it's hard to, you're already spinning out of control. So it's like, before you get to that point, take regular breaks, so that you don't get to that point and everything just seems to like work out way smoother, and your day is more enjoyable because you're like, oh, I didn't get
Yeah.
frustrated,
Yeah.
like it's like it works out a lot better. But if you're hyper focused and you work yourself into the point where you get so frustrated, then your anxiety's
Mhm.
up, then you're like your frustration levels, and you got tension in your body, and it's like all this energy that is building up in you, and you're like, you could have let off that steam way before you got to that point, and that's part of living a healthier life, I guess, is, and what I'm learning is like, don't over hyper focus on things so much because he just causes more trouble than what is was needed. But yeah, for the podcast, I think it's working out pretty good. I think also having a good variety of guests on, it gives me, it's helping me to see that there's different ways to talk to
Mhm.
different people. Like, there's, it's just all about being mindful of like who you're talking to. And like, if you're out in public and someone just comes up to you and asks you a question, you know, you have to kind of assess the situation. And you're like, how do I answer it? You just be honest, is the best thing, be honest, and don't be an
Yeah.
asshole, for whatever. Some people just don't understand that, and they're like, I've never purposefully done that, tried to be an asshole. But apparently, with my business, when I owned a shop downtown, I'd have customers come in and they would catch me in those times where I was already like blowing steam out of my ears because of a project I was working on. And I was so frustrated. So people come in and it's like they don't deserve
Yeah.
it, that they, but apparently the way I was acting was almost like I was taking something out on them. And they didn't deserve that. They walked into it, and that's not fair to them, and it's not good for me to be that way because I'm like, I'm the asshole, am I the asshole? Yes, I am the asshole today. So I don't want to be like that. And that's why preventative maintenance on my own self and learning how to talk to people is good practice. And it's working out. I like doing this podcast. I also like not having a shop downtown that I have to go to and spend like 16 or 18 hours at, like working by myself and having random people come off the street. Now I'm in my home and people schedule a drop off, and they talk to me on the phone, they schedule it, and they bring the stuff. I get the stuff, I do diagnostics and figure out what's going on, and I call them back and say, "This is what I can do to help you. This is what it needs, and I can get you fixed up." And they're like, "All right, go ahead." And I'm
You
like, "All
just
right,
you made it make more sense for you, and that's okay.
yeah, yeah."
I'd also
It's a much better
Oh, for
routine.
sure. I'd also tell you, any podcaster out there or wannabe podcaster, you're gonna do a show, and you're gonna realize, holy shit, do I and ah a lot, and you're gonna go through and you're gonna cut out every and ah you ever made, and you're gonna think that makes for a better product, and it kind of sort of does. But again, you're not being paid to do this. Don't worry about your and
Right.
ahs and your costs and that so forth. So I used to do our show used to be done in the middle of a restaurant, a full working restaurant, and people seem to like it just fine. So again, that's another
Yeah.
thing I came to. That's another point I arrived at here in this year. I was like, you know what? If I used to make a show in a loud ass restaurant and people seem to dig it, I could probably be okay with the occasional my dog barks or my kid pops up from come home from hanging out with his buddies and just steps his head, pokes his head in on the camera and like, oh, okay, it's my kid. There he goes. And that's just being a little more accepting of, again, this is a hobby. Treat it as such until it's not anymore. Like I said, if somebody has hired you to do a podcast and you're being paid well, then yeah, you might want to have a cleaner sound and so forth and so on. But for right now, it's just a good time. Then treat it as such.
Yeah.
Don't ruin the good time by making yourself feel like, oh God, we all have so many verbal ticks that you just don't know that you have until you know it, and they're like, there you go. Hey, look, I said this over and over again and it made me feel weird. made me feel weird when somebody pointed it out to me. Is what it was. Because my buddy was like, "Oh, you always say whatever, whatever," and I literally became so cognizant of every time I say that I was like, I was preventing myself from saying it, but also it was like making my good time less of a good time. So now if I say it, I said it, and
Mm.
and it is what it certainly will be what it is.
Yeah, I can understand that because like if you're so used to saying something a certain way and it's part of how your like brain to mouth filter works, like Japanese people when they're speaking they say like they'll say the word wa a lot in between other words. And wa is like a transitional word from one thought process to the next. And like if you're saying whatever, whatever, or I'm saying or like, I say
Yeah,
like a lot like, and I've caught myself doing that. But if you try to stop yourself from doing that, you're kind of throwing this like speed bump into your
yeah,
train of thought too, because then you're going to be like, I'm trying to be mindful not to say this or to speak a certain way, but at the same time, I'm kind of stopping my normal natural flow state of of
yeah,
thinking, like so I get it, man. I totally get
yeah.
that.
So there you go. There's some podcast advice from a guy who's been doing it now for going on 9 years. So yeah,
Wow. Let's see, like you're up in the 400s now with the
yeah,
episodes,
yeah. We
right?
just
Like,
recorded episode 424 coming back on the road from Chicago. We did that on the road. I have a little mobile recorder, so I just stick it on the armrest between us and we go.
oh wow. I have one of those. I've just never used it really. Like I tried to use it years ago for music stuff, but like that's another creation thing I need to get back into is doing music. Um, I don't know if you can see my guitar back here. Plus, I've got like a bunch on the wall and everything. I've got so much music stuff. I got a keyboard synthesizer under my desk here, like mounted under it, and an iPad.
Play some garage
But
band
I need
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could find an alternate application like that. There's just it doesn't seem to be any other kind of like tablet type music program that's as good as GarageBand, like for the iPad. And my iPad is really old, but I don't want to buy a new iPad just so I can have the new version of GarageBand because that's all I use
Yeah.
it for. It's like the only thing I use it for. But I've got it mounted on my desk here so I can do like samples
Yeah.
and stuff, But yeah, I like the production idea of podcasting, and I've always have. And when Rachel and I did the Planet Wormhole podcast like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was not in a very healthy mindset when I was trying to do that, and it did not come out how I wanted it to, and there was a lot of friction between her and I when we were doing that because I was all about production and all this stuff, even though I had no idea what I was doing because I just wasn't healthy enough to be taking on such a project. But I've learned my lessons from then, and now I'm like approaching it a lot
Yeah.
differently.
I
Um,
mean,
those episodes are still out there if anybody ever wants to listen.
I am certain there's things I do in production that could be done probably way easier or way different that I'm doing manually with just a mouse and some buttons clicks. But it's just it's my style of production. It's the way I've been making the show for this entire time, and I'm very used to it. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And it's like if it flows, it flows. And I mean, you have the viewership or the listenership out there, and the fans and stuff. So it's like, you know, and I'm thinking like with this show, I keep trying to question myself, like, what do I want to do with it? Like, how long do I want to keep doing it? And I'm thinking now with the way that it's going, and since I'm coming at it from such a different angle, that it could end up being a long term thing. But like you said, it's a hobby for now. It's me practicing, and it's me kind of using it as a therapy tool to communicate with others. Like I've been through a lot, and I also want it to be something that can be helpful maybe to other people once I start getting better information and resources and stuff to share. Then I will start doing that. Right now I'm just sharing my experiences, and limited information, but mostly just talking to different kinds of people and practicing talking. So it's working well, and I like it, and that's what makes, you know, a good hobby, is doing something that you like to do, you know. And it's let's see what else. Man, like I said, beginning of the show, there's so much stuff I want to talk to you about. There's you know, we've got the podcasting thing, but like there's um oh, I remember one thing I wanted to mention that I was thankful to you for was the time that you reached out and you said, "Hey, have you heard of this anime movie called Your Name?" And I was like, "No, I hadn't heard of that." And it's weird because it's a, you know, for a long time I wasn't really paying attention to a lot of stuff, but before that I was always so I'm such an anime head, or an
Yeah.
otaku, that I'm into everything anime and have been for forever. um, but that became kind of like an annual, after you told me about it, me and Rachel watched it, and really liked it, and then we started making it like an annual thing. So like once a year we try to pop that in there and
Nice.
watch that, just to kind of revisit it, because it's like, it's just, man, it like almost, I almost cry like every time I watch it, because I'm like, it just hits you right there, you know. You're like, oh man, this, but it's so good, it's funny, it's just such a deep story. But I think anime in general has always done that for me, and that's why I'm like, lately I have been watching way more anime than I have in the past several years. Like, just digging into stuff that I hadn't heard of, or like, I'd been wanting to watch for many years but never had a chance. And I'm just blowing through so many series lately. It's insane, because I'm like, I don't have time for this really, but I guess I do, and I'm just watching everything.
My youngest is super in anime. I'm just, you know, I'm a old school, like, you know, Ninja Scroll, Ghost in the Shell kind of guy and so forth. And I just came across Your Name. Just, I don't know. I think I was probably watching some other movie and they were like, a Phantom event, you know, come watch this in the theater. And I was like, that looks cool. I'll check it out. And I watched it. I watched it subbed instead of dubbed. And I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not a sub dub, you know, maniac or anything like that. There, I just like, I watched it and read the subtitles just like I did when years ago I watched Crouching Tiger. You know, it's my thing, and it's one of the few
Yeah,
times where I was like, I can never watch this dub. The dub is just subpar. It just doesn't even sound right. So I watched that. I watched that particular one subbed. When I watched, I ended up ordering the 4K box set from Japan for that, because they wouldn't
oh
give
wow,
us the nice set over here. They had a Blu-ray of it, and they would not release the 4K. And then when they finally did release the 4K version of it, it was nowhere near as nice a package as the Japanese one. Japanese one came with books and the audio CDs and stuff like that. So I ended up paying a couple of bucks and getting that off of eBay. And so, like I said, it's a very special movie to me as well. So I hear you, man. It's one of those ones that you know, that's really stood the test of time.
yeah, absolutely. There's a, I was trying to think. I think that same production company had like another one, and we talked about it briefly. But the I'm trying to remember what it was called. It might have been the
Yes,
Weathering
it
with
is
You
Weathering with
one.
You. It is Weathering with You, and I bought that one. They did put a nice American 4K version out, so I bought that one too.
But yeah, it's like, you know, anybody that doesn't know much about anime, like I try to refer them to those ones that have like stood out, you know, like if obviously like anything Studio Ghibli, you know, or Hayao Miyazaki, which he's coming
I
out of
saw, yeah,
retirement
yeah.
again,
One
you
more
know,
time, one more. Can he help himself?
one more time. And, you know, those are the ones that you can refer anyone to, so they can kind of get a feel of the depth that like an anime movie, or the type of storytelling that they do in those movies. But Your Name is one of those ones that I can recommend too. And then like there's, you know, like you said, the classics. That's what I started with too. You know, the Vampire Hunter
Yeah,
D and Ninja Scroll and Akira, you know, and stuff like that. But there's so many good ones. Like every time I watch something new that I get
yeah,
into, I like really get into it, because I'm like, how do they just put so much into these
yeah.
stories, and it makes you think, and that's what I love about it. It's like anything that you can just sit there and watch, and then all of a sudden you're like thinking to yourself about all kinds of like theories and plots and twists and characters, and you're like, how did they put so much information into a cartoon? Like most people are like, this is just a cartoon, but I'm like, it's different, and I'm glad to see that American uh, television or animation has come a long way too in the past several years. But you know, there's just that level of depth that anime does that I've always been attracted to, and it's something I always recommend. And some people don't get it, and they're just like,
It's like it's okay. Like you either understand it or you won't, and that's okay too. I mean, if I will say right now, if you're super hyped about this Matrix movie like I am, go back and watch Ghost in the Shell. So much stuff from the original Matrix comes from Ghost in the Shell that it's a delight. It's a
oh
delight to
yeah,
just go back and watch and like, oh, and take notes. And like, oh, this came from that.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's like that whole thing about the I don't know if you know much about William Gibson's novel, The Neuromancer from the 80s, like where he coined the term cyberspace. Um, like cyberspace, he coined that term back then in like 84 with his novel Neuromancer. And that's what a lot of information uh, or ideas came from as well to basically make Ghost in the Shell. So like some of those ideas too. But yeah, Ghost in the Shell is one of my favorites. Also, like not just the movie. The movie is great. The I really wish they would have done something different with the Hollywood
The
remake thing.
adaptation. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
there's a lot going on there.
yeah, or not enough. I don't know. But yeah, that's probably one of my all time favorites is Ghost in the Shell, because I mean I've got like tattoos of it. I've got Tachikomas up here on my gaming PC. I've got my Motoko Kusanagi action figures
Nice.
everywhere. Um, the series I need to rewatch the standalone
Yeah.
complex. Those are really good. I've got the manga. Um, yeah, that whole idea of the cyberspace thing, and being able to log into like the into the net and track stuff
Yeah.
down and all that. But yeah, I'm excited about the Matrix too, because I don't really know what the idea is behind the story. Like, why? How did this
Yeah.
come to be?
So I watched the original last week, and then unbeknownst to me, they dropped a new trailer. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I just watched this movie because it has to be all the way fresh just for this trailer. And I'm like, this all look good to me. I'm ready to go.
When is it coming
Yeah,
out next week,
22nd.
or is it? Wow.
So that is, what day is that? That is a Wednesday. Oh, because it's the holidays. It's the week. I'm like, why did they put that in the middle of the week? So I'm probably going to go see that in the theater first, even though I can watch it, on HBO Max. But I actually want to see that on a big old screen. I want to, like I saw the original Matrix stoned out of my gourd back in '99 with me and my buddies. One of the first times I was high in public, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of the way you should see this movie. So
That movie caught me off guard because I didn't hear much about it when it was coming out, because I was in the Marine Corps. I was still in my first, like, I went in the Marine Corps in 96. And when did it come out?
99,
98 or
yeah.
99? 99. I was I was in Yuma, Arizona at the time on a small deployment from my regular base. And I was there with some buddies, and we were working on an airplane, and somebody said, "Hey, there's this Matrix movie out. We should go see it tonight." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I don't mind going to see a movie." And so after we got off work, we went and checked it out, and I mean, literally blew me away, because a good, I hadn't seen a good movie. I hadn't seen a good martial arts movie. I hadn't seen a good sci-fi movie. I hadn't seen a good action movie. Like all these different sections of the genre were wrapped up into this one
Yeah.
movie, and it blew me away, because I was like, this is what I've been looking for, because there were so many elements of, like you said, like with Ghost in the Shell, there was all these things that or themes that seemed like they were taken almost straight out of
Mm-hmm.
an anime or a comic book or something. And I was like, holy shit, that was amazing. And I'll never forget it was the tiniest theater I think I'd ever been in that I saw it at. And it was kind of like the theater I think was in a mall, but the mall was like an
Yeah.
outside mall. So it was kind of like there was like a building, and you go in the theater, you come out and there's like another strip of shops and stuff, but there was like nobody down there. It's like a ghost town. but but yeah, it was crazy. I might have to go see this one in the theater too. Rachel and I went and saw the
God,
Ghostbusters
it's so good.
movie in the theater, and that was the first movie that we've seen in the theater since obviously before the
Yeah.
pandemic. It was like we hadn't. I don't even think we didn't go to the movies that much anyway, but we can't even remember the last movie we saw in the theater. It might have been like Bumblebee or
Okay.
something,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that
Oh
long ago,
wow. Jeez Louise. I'm a
or one of the
I'm a
Marvel.
huge is that my partner went to film school, so she's super into movies. But I've always been a guy who loved movies, and that was one of the things I super missed during the pandemic. And so uh, when I was officially, you have to be like 2 weeks after your second shot before you were considered vaccinated. They was that same weekend the the Dolby digital re-release of Scott Pilgrim versus the World was released, and so we drove down to Columbus because there's a Dolby theater down there to go watch that movie, and it was like it was just so great. You know what I'm saying? To be like, okay, I feel like I'm not gonna get the disease or give my partner the disease, and got to see a real great like they really cleaned that movie up for that Dolby re-release. Like it was gorgeous. I hadn't heard it, and I hadn't seen Scott Pilgrim in the theater since last time I saw it was a little theater. I saw it in Boston, and it wasn't a great theater. It's just a little college like theater, so I didn't even get the full soundscape. And it was just amazing to go and see. I really love going to the movies, and like there's a theater we go to now locally that still has it's just not back to full swing. They're just not. People just don't even know it exists seemingly. So every time we go there, it's like pretty empty. So it's always so we feel comfortable. Like okay, it's empty, it's quiet. You know what I'm saying? There's not too many people around us. There's not no one sitting super close, and that has proven real nice. Just I feel comfortable. My partner who has a bit of an anxiety surrounding saying possibly getting sick and so forth, and being around a bunch of people feels comfortable, and it's been real good going to see movies again, man.
Yeah, we enjoyed going to see the Ghostbusters one. That was like it was cool to just
Yeah.
get out and go see that. It kind of sucked at first because when the previews were starting, like the like I guess they're just not very up to like they I guess they had more people probably showing up to the theater that day than they were
Mm-hmm.
used to. So they weren't handling all their business. So the curtains on the screen were partially closed. So the screen was projecting over the top of these
Yeah,
curtains. So I had to go. I was like, I'm not going to sit here and watch the
for
movie like
sure.
that. So I left and I went and I told someone at the counter. It took me a few minutes to get their attention because they were helping other people. But I was like, hey, like we're trying to watch a movie in here and the curtain's
Yeah,
closed, So I missed like the first like minute and a half of the movie because it was
you had to
like
go. Yeah,
out there telling them
yeah,
that. But it was still cool being out there. And I think we'll probably go out and I'd like to go see the Matrix. That would be definitely one to see in the theater. Um, I'd like to get it back on a regular rotation when like a new movie that I'm looking forward to comes out. Then we actually go out
yeah.
and see it. You know, um, it's just been like you said with the pandemic. It's been rough to even think about doing that stuff. And the closest IMAX to us is like an hour and a half away. That's in Kansas City at the Union
Yeah.
Station, I think. We saw Maleficent when it first came out, the first one, and Rachel and I were the only people in the entire IMAX, and it was pretty
It's kind of
awesome.
nice when you call it all yours. We saw Cruella earlier this year, and it was me and Vanessa and like two other people like down and to the side. I'm like, why would you get seats over here when you could be in the middle?
Right? Yeah, you got to go towards the middle so you can get that
That's
whole.
exactly what I'm there for. I'm there for the entire soundscape and to be certain level of weight of distance from the screen.
Oh man. Well, man, we probably should wrap up here pretty soon. It's been great talking to you. There's still like a million things I want to talk to you about, though.
Luckily,
Like,
we're
so
friends, so you
you,
can ask anytime you need to.
we'll just you'll just keep coming back and get subjected to the wormhole travel. Man, okay. Do you want to let everyone out there know where they can find you on social media
Throughout
and
the
stuff?
entirety of the internet, everywhere I go, with the exception now of Instagram. I am Tayrel, Tayrel, the number 713. Because of my phone broke and I no longer have access to my old Instagram account, I had to make a new one, and that is Tayrel, the number 7, and then spell out 13 after that. I know it's long, but it works, and I use that, and it's cool. If you have the audacity to believe you want to follow me on social media, my show is Stays Crunchy in Milk, Crunchy being spelled with a K. Available any and everywhere podcasts are. You can follow that. It Stays Crunchy on Instagram. It's Skimpod, SKIMPOD on Twitter. Again, it's everywhere we do the show, so it's a good time. I'm also, as I said earlier, I'm on a show called Cadillac on Mars. That comes out once a month, every month on the 1st. That's my buddy Chaffee. That's his show, and he gratefully asked me to be a part of it, and I jumped in, and I've been doing that for the last few months, and it's a good time. That's most of it always ends up being just a little dad talk, a little bit of society, what's going on in the world talk, and then we always try to sprinkle a little video game in it because we're all a bunch of gamers. So that's how that goes down. We've started talking about games more on my show, which is weird because it's like we never really had that a part of it, but we, as the pandemic has gone, we all end up becoming gamers again. Well, I never stopped ever. So that is who I am and where you can find me. I think
Awesome,
we do a pretty good job. So
well, I think so too, man. You've definitely inspired me to keep doing this stuff and get back into it and all that. I want to give a shout out to at the Artisan Rogue, Mario Mora. He was on a couple episodes ago, but the following episode, I've been trying to shout out who I had on the previous episode, but like I totally missed him and shouted out the same guy that I had on the episode before that. So Mario, thank you for being my friend and being on a couple episodes so far. Let's see, anything else going out there? Do you got any shout outs? Do you want
okay,
to shout out?
the business. Word to the homie Matt here for getting me on the show finally. We've been talking about this for a long time, y'all. Y'all don't know. Behind the scenes, it's been like, hey man, we're gonna do something. Like, we'll get there. And we finally just was like, you know what? I work from home. You work from home. We could probably just do this in the middle of the day.
Yep,
There
and
you
it
go.
worked out.
See what you got better than that there.
Yeah, we need to talk about some games and stuff too next time.
We have
I got to see what you're up to. Man. And Transformers.
See, that's the one thing I'm touchy about. I'm a G1 guy. So when everybody else is like, I love Beast Wars or whatever, or this is pretty good, I'm like, it's no G1.
Yeah. No, nothing beats the original, and it's hard to. I've watched the other ones, but they're definitely not the same, and it's I don't know. The first movie, the original animated movie, was like that's the gold right there. That one, that will last forever. Oh man. All right. Well, hey man, thanks again for being on here. I love you, man.
Well,
I thank you for being there for me during my my struggles and my journey at getting better, becoming a better person. I know there's a lot of work to do, but the fact is I'm here and I'm trying, and I'm going to keep pushing forward. Everybody out there, thank you for supporting the show if you have so far. And if you haven't listened to T's show, check out Stays Crunchy and Milk. Everybody, if you'd like to check out our social media for this show, there's a website, linktr.ee/wormhole_manifest. I may eventually get a regular website, but just kind of doing things as it comes. So check out the Twitter at WormFestPod. Or send me an email if you'd like to be on the show or have any constructive criticism or want to send me some hate mail. wormholemanifest@gmail.com, especially if anybody out there wants to know more information about psychedelic assisted therapy or psychedelics in general, or anything having to do with mental health awareness kind of stuff. I have tons and tons of documentation on all this stuff, the things I've been researching. I've got links on my Discord server and all kinds of stuff on there. So I don't always remember everything verbatim. So it's hard for me to say, this is what does this or how this affects you. But like I have the documentation I can reference and get that information out there. And I have lots of books too that I've been reading on the subject. But stay tuned for future episodes where we're going to get into all kinds of different topics, with mental health obviously being the number one thing, because we all need to work on ourselves and we all need to be there for each other and all kinds of stuff. I'll stop rambling. So everybody, thank you very much. T,
A
thanks,
pleasure, sir.
man.
Thank you.
I'll see you
Yes,
online.
sir.
Peace out, everybody.